Hey, Izzy.
Hey, we're live. I'm gonna text you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy holidays.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Happy holidays.
I'm I'm so glad it's the end of the year. It's
Are you ready? Are you ready?
yeah, I'm sorry. I just ran Senator Winfield.
No. I'm talking about, are you ready for the holidays?
Oh,
Because I'm not ready.
I have a tree. I have a tree. So I took it out of the box. I feel so badly. This is the first year I've not had a real tree. I feel
Oh.
like I'm neglecting my grandchildren or something with. But I got over it because took me all of 15 minutes to put my tree up and with lights.
Yeah. And you won't have a whole bunch of pine needles to clean up afterwards.
No, not at all. Not at all. But
My daughter Jennifer had a friend call her yesterday and say that she was so behind on Christmas she hadn't even put up her tree.
Oh my gosh.
Jennifer suggested go to Home Depot and get a big poinsettia plant and put lights on it.
There you
And
go.
forget about the tree and the ornaments.
Well, I still have my youngest one who's 10 years old. He's on the cusp of believing and not believing,
Yeah.
but we have that ridiculous elf on the shelf that
Oh,
we
yeah.
have to move around every day, every morning.
Just think of all the joy that he's going to realize at 25. You deceived him all this time. No problem.
Oh,
Okay, well, but let's get going because everybody's probably got Christmas shopping to do and everything else, and we want to make sure. So I want to welcome everybody to the JJPOC December. Again, I say November, December meeting, and it's great to see all of you here. And I look forward to this today. We're trying to kind of get ourselves ready for the next session. We've got January to sort of build out a lot of the things that we want to do and accomplish. And so at this point, we are sort of looking back on the things that we feel have value for what we are going to use as our agenda going forward. And I kind of want to remind everybody that the best thing that we should do is understand what we have, what we've accomplished, and then build off of it. Because when we go away from building off of what we do, we neglect the continuity of things and trying to place within the system of the juvenile justice system. So is my co-chair on?
let me look. Let me look.
Do I see him?
I don't see him.
Okay, well then we will move on to the next item. Paul?
Good afternoon, everyone. Izzy, would you mind sharing the PowerPoint when you have a moment? Thank you. All right, welcome to our virtual JJPOC meeting. As we get started, we're going to do some administration pieces first for meeting facilitation. Just please stay on mute while we're on Zoom today. And if there's any questions, use the hand raising function in Zoom. We're going to save questions to the end and discussion after the conversation has been had. And this is for JJPOC members. And just as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Next slide, please. So our agenda today is packed, but we have lots of good things to cover. Thank you, Rep. Walker, for the welcome and introductions, and hopefully Daniel will join us momentarily. We have several administrative updates to go over covering the JJPOC's work groups and the work that's being done in those work groups. This is going to be a standard practice, not only in the JJPOC, but our work groups moving forward. So this is something that you'll see just so everyone is aware of the work that is occurring across the JJPOC and its work groups. Erica will help with a level setting for the proposed draft recommendations that we're working through in several of the work groups of the JJPOC. And as you see here, we have lots of guests that are joining us today to help present those recommendations. So thank you for being here. We have a recommendation on emerging adults, parole recommendation, a transportation recommendation, as well as a truancy recommendation. So if you can go to the next slide, we'll work through some of the administrative updates. Next slide, please. So just as to make the committee aware, we have our next meeting January 22nd, and that's going to be in person and via Zoom. And we're going to be presenting the JJPOC recommendations package to the JJPOC, to this committee. Just as a special note, the February 19th monthly meeting will be led by the youth and the CEW. So that's going to be our voting meeting this year, and we're going to have a lot of young people there to help present our recommendations as we work through them as a committee. The education work group meets next tomorrow, and you'll hear today a little bit about the transportation recommendation, which is going to be worked through in the education work group tomorrow. The community expertise work group is working through finding another time to meet, but they're focused on two trainings, one being a legislative training and another a storytelling training, as well as the 2026 JJPOC recommendations. Our cross-agency data sharing work group is going to look for another date to move the next meeting. It is on MLK Day, so we're going to work on finding a new date for that meeting. And some of the items that are going to be covered are the Juvenile Justice Equity Dashboard 2.0 discussion, and this is going to be an ongoing discussion in that work group, as well as going over the crossover youth update from OPM and their data analytics unit. Next slide, please. All right, our diversion work group is going to meet next on January 13th from 2 to 3:30 p.m. And they're going to be reporting on metrics for JRBs, and that's going to be done by DCF, as well as the RFP diversion supplement and the post-C policy adoption, as well as the youth police training. So we're going to have a busy meeting there. Just as a side note, those invitations for those work groups will go out as we wrap up this meeting and we move into the new year. And the work groups regroup with each other and the chairs. The incarceration work group will meet next on February 16th and go over the conditions of confinement update based on that subgroup, as well as a gender responsive update. So if there's any questions, please direct those to Erica. Erica, I'm not sure if you'd like to introduce our new project manager. And then just as a reminder, the Tau Youth Justice Institute will be closed from December 25th, 2025 until January 1st, and we'll be reopening back up on the 2nd. So I'll pass it to Erica to introduce our new project manager.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. And Izzy, if you can lower the screen, that would be great. I am really very excited to report that we have concluded our interview process. And we have made an offer, and Namanje Wally is here with us today. Thank you so much. And just want to give a little bit about her, who she is, and some of her bio. She has a master's degree in science and healthcare administration, a bachelor's of science in public health with a minor in public policy and human rights. Recently, she was the program manager for the North Hartford Ascend at the Connecticut Children's. She led a collective impact initiative designed to strengthen protective factors, prevent youth violence, and align health, education, and justice systems. In her role, she convened state and community partners to translate data into actionable policy and ensure accountability across systems. Prior to working with the North Hartford Ascend at the Connecticut Children's, she was the program manager of policy and social enterprise at Health Equity Solutions. She collaborated with policymakers and advocates to design and advance equity-centered policy recommendations. Namanje's experience extends to legislative analysis, system-level planning, and consensus building. She is driven by the conviction that youth justice reform must be rooted in humanity, prevention, and belonging. I would like to introduce you to Namanje.
Thank you so much, Erica. That was so beautiful and so robust. I don't really know how to follow up with anything about me that you haven't shared, but I'm super excited to get to work with you all in the upcoming year and get to know you all a little bit, and super excited that you will have me. So I look forward to continuing this work together. We'll be getting this work together and to support you all as you all continue the work. So thank you for that, Erica.
Can I just ask, Namanje, did I meet your mother?
Yes, you did. Yes, I grew up in your district. So my mom is Bethany. Yeah, I grew up in New Haven, went to UConn, and after graduating undergrad, I kind of stayed up here in Hartford for work. But yes, you did meet my mom. She sent me a picture and she was like, I had such a great opportunity to meet her. Super excited. So yes, you did.
It's funny because Senator Winfield also met her. We were both at the meeting with her, and then she introduced herself. So welcome aboard, and we're excited about having you join us. And I hope it'll be an educational opportunity for you as well as for all of us in working together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think we have just one last administrative task to do, and that is to accept the meeting minutes of November 2026. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
Can I get a motion to accept the minutes? And are there any changes to the minutes? And I want to know, did anybody read all the minutes? If they do, they get a star.
That is Andrew has been taking care of our minutes, and he has been doing a very good job. And I did read them all.
God bless you. Anyhow, we have a motion.
Motion to accept.
Okay, Representative Nolan. Can I have a second?
I'll second. Christina Gio.
Thank you, Christina. All in favor of accepting the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays?
Aye.
Any abstentions? No. All right. Awesome. Okay, that was easy. Next.
Yeah, and thank you. I'm just going to do very quick just to explain where we are today thus far, and then the next steps moving forward. So for today, this is really a conversation. We're bringing to you all some suggestions or ideas that we've been discussing of areas to possibly improve. No decisions have been made. This is more about areas of discussions that have happened in various work groups. Two specific work groups that based off of, in the past, you might have received recommendations from each of the work groups. I think this is the first time, Rep. Walker and Undersecretary Karpowitz, that I think we only have two work groups possibly bringing recommendations forward to you for consideration for the 2026 legislative session. But in the work groups for the past about 2 to 3 months, we've been, and for some maybe a little bit longer, we've been having these discussions with the membership of the work groups and collecting feedback, reviewing some data, identifying sort of the barriers, concerns, and so forth. And so the discussion today is that just a discussion. Hey, here's what we're thinking. These are some ideas. We would love the membership's feedback and direction and guidance. Depending on the feedback and direction and guidance that we receive today, that information will be brought forward back to the appropriate work group to process, and if directed, to further refine the recommendation language. And bring that recommendation language back, or the revised recommendation language back to you in January for a second discussion and conversation around, did we get it right? What else do we need to improve on? And so forth, with the hope that we would have a much more finalized recommendation language for you all to consider and vote at the February meeting. And as Paul mentioned, if you remember, this past February 2025, we had the young people lead the JJPOC meeting, and it was just a big turnout. We would like to do that every year. Every year we would like to have the young people in the community expertise work group bring forward, whether it be their recommendations or their youth report, which is what they brought forward to you in 2025. And so please, our preference would be that we can do that in person. Hopefully there's no storms or anything like that, but we can do that in person so we can have a really good, robust conversation. But that is the big picture process. I am now going to give the floor, I believe, our first recommendation, if we are ready to move forward with that. Our first recommendation discussion is with the community, is being brought forward to you by the Community Expertise Work Group, and you have we do have some guests here from who have also been putting a lot of effort into this proposal. So I'm going to first ask that I believe is it Stella, Paul? You might have to guide me a little bit. Is it Stella or is it
Yeah, we're going to start with Elizabeth. Hinton, I believe, is here, and she and her organization have been really instrumental in some of this policy and legislative work. So she's going to help introduce the recommendation, and then we're going to move on to the chairs of the CEW, Stella and Evan.
Thank you. Elizabeth, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you so much, Erica and Paul, and thank you, members of the JJPOC, for inviting us to share this proposal with you. I'm Elizabeth Hinton. I'm the class of 1954 professor of history, Black Studies, and law at Yale University and Yale Law School. And I'm also the founding director of the Yale Institute on Incarceration and Public Safety. And we've been partnered with the Full Citizens Coalition and Guided by Purpose and other groups in the state to advance juvenile sentencing reform concerning parole eligibility. I'm also joined here by Shelby Henderson and Representative Kadeem Roberts, who we've been working with on this legislation all fall. Paul, if you want to just go to the first slide, I guess. Okay, so part of what we're trying to do with this new juvenile sentencing reform is to build off and in many ways hopefully finish the work that has been going on among many of the people in this room in the state of Connecticut to bring the state in compliance with the constitutional standards established by the Miller versus Alabama Supreme Court decision, which recognized that, based on brain science, which tells us that people aren't fully developed until the age of 25 at the earliest, that it was cruel and unusual punishment. It was a constitutional violation to sentence young people to prison for their entire lives, especially if they are ready for release. And so Connecticut has already moved somewhat in this area, recognizing the brain science, and many of these policies disproportionately impact young Black and Brown people. And in the state of Connecticut, about 70 to 85% of the people affected by these juvenile laws are Black and Brown. Can you move to the next slide, please? So, again, we're just really trying to bring the state into compliance with Miller v. Alabama. I guess this is kind of repeats some of what I've just said. So let's move on to the third slide. And what the legislation is trying to do is, so currently Connecticut provides parole eligibility to people who were early parole eligibility to people who were under 21 at the time of their offense, and who were sentenced to more than 10 years if they were sentenced after October 1st, 2005. So what we're trying to do with this policy is to make parole eligibility determined by age at offense rather than age at sentencing, which is a misguided policy that has created all sorts of problems. You could be someone, we know an individual who we're working with on a civil rights complaint who was 19 years old when he committed an offense in 2003, so 2 years before the sentencing cutoff date, but didn't actually receive his sentence until 2007. So 4 years after his offense, but he's not eligible for parole because of the arbitrary date that is currently in the legislation. So we're trying to, actually allow parole eligibility to be determined by age at offense rather than sentencing date, and then bring the state in compliance with, the Supreme Court, the standards set by the Supreme Court, which is that, that people who were under the age of 26 at the time of their offense deserve a second look, deserve a second chance, and to kind of bring the state in line with trends that we see in other states like California, Massachusetts, Washington, DC. We also know, based on data from California and Pennsylvania and other states that have enacted these second look policies, that there is a very, very low rate of recidivism here. So this is good and sound policy that actually promotes public safety and doesn't represent in any way a significant threat to public safety, and is extremely cost effective in terms of saving the state resources and bringing people home who are ready to come home. I guess the last thing I'll say before opening it up is that, this policy is not a like get out of jail free card. It doesn't mean, if this policy is enacted that all of a sudden everybody is just gonna get out of prison right away. But what this is doing is empowering the parole board to say, if you have served a significant portion of your sentence and you are clearly ready to be released, if you've been rehabilitated, if you no longer pose a threat to public safety, then you're eligible for early parole consideration and you can come home to your family. I don't know, Shelby or Rep. Roberts, if either one of you want to add anything that I might have missed here.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for everything. Y'all can hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. Thank you so much for everything. For me, honestly, I think that Elizabeth basically said it all. But if the personal stories of why this bill is important to me is because in 2012, me and my best friend were in a vehicle. My best friend ended up having his back against the wall. We were roughly around the age of 21 years of age. My best friend was currently doing 35 years to life. And basically what happened was his back was against the wall. Shots were fired at us. He fired back a shot, ended up killing one, paralyzing another. And basically when I got to the Capitol, this bill was on the table, Senate Bill 952. And I fought hard because at the time when it happened, he was about 11 to 12 years in prison. And currently right now he's still in prison. But when we did pass this bill, it really didn't affect him at the time because we put a date of 2005 and we put a date of, and then we put an age of 21. Currently, we know that, as Elizabeth stated, and a bunch of people will state as well, doctors have came and testified. A lot of other people have testified that a brain for a male and female, but a male per se, doesn't fully develop till about 25, 26 years of age. So I just want everybody to understand why it's important, not just because I'm constitutional, but to the state of Connecticut currently. And I got to call a spade and be honest with everybody. African Americans, Latinos, whatever the case may be, we make up 13% of the state population, but we overflood the incarceration population. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. So I'm happy to be on this bill, pushing this bill as my priority bill this session. And I'm just happy to just answer any questions and be here for anybody's support. But for me, it hits home because I've lived through this experience. That is currently my lifestyle. And, a lot of people say oh, how'd you get into politics? I think this is my big point of why I'm in politics for this reason. My best friend was killed and my other best friend killed the person that killed my best friend. And we were juveniles at the time. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. So that's why Rep. Roberts is pushing for this bill, because I need everybody to understand why the population of prisons is overpopulated with Black and brown people. Where are the forms of resources for us kids growing up? I was just a person that made it out. Honestly, I was a blessing that made it through, but, so thank you for allowing me to speak, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to bring our team on and speak to you guys today, because we are asking for support on this session. Though it is a short session, things start February 4th. It jumps right in. March, we're probably doing JFs and we're hitting the ground running. So all hands on deck for us. But my team that's on here right now has been leading this charge throughout the state of Connecticut, from Sanford all the way to Hartford. Every other week, every other month, they're doing firesides and inviting everybody to come see them. And we're talking about this bill. So last year, I passed my first bill with the help of our good senator, where we banned handcuffs for 14 years and under. It was a big priority bill for me. And I think that when I put my mind to a lot of things, this is going to be something that's really big as well. And I appreciate this, the leadership of Auntie Rep. Walker for explaining to me, what are you doing? Bring us on. So I truly appreciate that. And of course, Senator Winfield for always saying, Kadeem, I'm gonna let you dance a little bit, but there's protocols, there's ways and steps to go upon this. So truly appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you for joining us. And I just want sort of make sure people understand this is a concept bill that we are talking about. We're not debating the merits of it. We just want you to understand whatever you need to get as far as any particulars about the bill. When we get in January and we start doing, that's when we start to debate the bill and we start to talk about the particulars and everything that I think a lot of people, because I know some people might have concern about the idea of murder as a bar. Maybe we start somewhere else. I mean, there's a lot of different ways of doing. The point is we want to make movement, and that is what the whole idea is in this process. So are there any questions?
So the only other thing I would say is I do know that two chairs, your community expertise chair, Stella and Devon, might want to say something as well. And then I did see Rep. Nolan's hand up, so I'll let Stella and Devon, if there's anything you wanted to say as well, please take the floor.
Yes, thank you so much. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, good afternoon. So the CEW is unique this year because we moved from being more organization-based to more persons with lived experience based. And I think that makes it special, and the time is absolutely right to get a bill like this forward. We were mulling over recommendations, what we need to do. Parole came up within our groups before we even learned about this work being done. And rather than coming up with a new recommendation or trying to reinvent the wheel, we just want to do what's right. So the Q is ready to support this by any means necessary. I highly suggest everyone take the time to read through what was sent by Paul. Because, you, especially in the climate that we're in now, people get so fired up. But when you read this, they're taking in economic savings for the state. They're taking into account the victims' rights. They're making sure that it's left up to the parole board, so people are not just going to flood the streets. And what was sad to me about what Kadeem was talking about is like, you think that these are one-off things, but I have personal family members who at the age of 19, though they were college bound, made some terrible mistakes and had to do 14 years and went to prison, did well, got in the Greyhound program, came out, opened up businesses, has a coffee shop in East Hartford right now, and just made a really terrible decision. And this law wouldn't have changed him having to go to prison, but it would have gotten him home 3 years earlier. And you can't make up for lost time, but if you can redeem 3 years of your life to give back to society, it matters. Every moment matters. And unfortunately, as a high school counselor working at Weaver, I had students who were on their way to UConn. And by the time that they graduated to the time that they were supposed to go to UConn, they made a poor decision with a group of friends, and now they potentially could be in jail for the rest of their life. So I think about these students, and it's not just one student, it's a few students that I can think of off the top of my head who at the age of 17 or 18 made a terrible decision. And I do not believe that anyone on this line feels like that child should be in jail for the rest of their life, especially when they were on track to go to four-year college. So if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing while incarcerated and the parole board feels like they would not be at a threat, but would be the asset to the community coming home, by all means, we should support this bill. So I highly recommend everyone read this thoroughly, and also please say the same thing I'm saying to other people, because when you read it, it makes really good sense. So thank you for listening. I'm going to pass this over to my co-chair, Devon.
Thank you. Good job, Stella. Thank you. How's everybody doing? My name is Devon Tanksley Sr. From New Britain, Connecticut, born and raised. And yes, when this opportunity for us to get behind this bill, it actually hit home as well. Coming from where I come from, this is almost like it's gotten to the point where for some families and youth and people, it's like normal for us to see our family members deal with it, to see ourselves go through it. And I'm not talking about just a couple years, we're talking about years, decades of this type of trauma and systematic broken system where it's and some of us is not the ones who actually created these laws with this broken system, but we're still managing them. So we're still the ones that's enforcing these rules and these laws and these things that oppress us and hold us back. But we're not really doing anything about it. I always, when I have conversations, I always tell people that as government officials and legislators in the system, we meet, sometime, once a month or every other month. But what a lot of people don't realize, if you're not really in it, is that it takes us 60 days to decide on an agenda, but during those 60 days, we lost 30 kids. 30 youth went to prison. There's so much trauma, and I understand the science part, but even if we take it just deeper and deeper and deeper than that, it's to the point where we're placed in these environments. I was 11 years old in the project, placed in these environments with hundreds and hundreds of kids like me, without a father. Our parents were on crack cocaine during the 80s. They had no stability. They had no tools. They had no guidance. We're talking generations after generations after generations passed down to individuals like us. And then we go out in the world and try to compete with no tools at all. And then we have to sit and try to explain or fight for our freedom when we wasn't even given our freedom. We're released from parole, and before we even get to the gate, it's almost like we're released from prison, and before we even get to the gate, it's like we're grabbed by our shirt, and we have parole, we have felonies, we have supervision, we have this type of trauma, this type of mental prison is deeper than the actual cell that we're living in. This cell that's the size of a bathroom. I spent 8 months in Hartford detention, and it's a cell. I was 11 years old. There was another kid in there that was 10. Like, I don't think, I know we're all trying to see the bigger picture, but sometimes if you're not like in it, it doesn't hit your heart. Like, I always try to talk to people and say, let's stop, referring to ourselves as rep such and such or rep such and such. When we're talking about this data, we got to kind of remove the data and put these kids in there and look at them like grandkids, like you're an auntie, you're an uncle, you're a dad, you're a brother, you're a father. Because once we start connecting back to that root, it's gonna do something to our hearts. We're not asking no one to feel bad for us because we've been through things. Everybody been through things. Everybody go through things. Everybody been through things. We're not asking that. We're saying, look at the system that's been oppressing us, and still we don't go to the extent where it's overboard. Most of these kids that's in there is for killing ourselves. It's not like we got to the point where we're so upset that we're going out there and we're shooting other people or we're robbing. It's like we're killing each other because of the trauma and the violence and the disease that's been passed down after generation. So even though this is a parole situation where it doesn't cover everyone, but it covers enough where we can start somewhere. I wrote something down and I wanted to read it before I let one of my before I let Red take the floor, and he's going to speak on this. But I wanted to just say data is critical and lived experience is critical as well, but neither works on its own. Data tells us what is happening on a scale, while lived experience explains why it's happening on the ground in the first place. When policy is built on data alone, it often misses the human realities that causes failure after release. When lived experience stand alone, it lacks the system's wide perspective and support needed for resources and accountability. Real changes, public safety, and strong lasting laws come from combining both data and lived experiences work together, when policy and people team up, when we all start moving as a unit, we pass good laws. We implement them that work for communities, for people, and for systems. So I just wanted to touch on that because after years of
Thank-
data and now you guys decided to bring us in as lived experience individuals, I think that can take a lot of things that we're stepping towards in a whole new direction. And I just wanted to say that. Red, you can go and speak on your experience.
And also before you go, if we can also be brief, we do have an agenda to get through and several other recommendations. And so thank you. We absolutely, as we mentioned earlier, this is a broader picture discussion. Next month we'll have a much more significant debate discussion. But Red, we definitely welcome your thoughts.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Gilfredo Santiago, and I served 22 years, 4 months, 3 weeks, and 6 days for murder. I was sentenced to 33 years, and I missed the 1584, which was the first bill to raise the age to the age of 18 by 6 days. I committed my offense at the age of 18 and 6 days. I was devastated myself when I heard that I couldn't participate in that, obtaining parole. And at 33 years, it would have been around 19 and a half years that I would have served. Then the 23-169 passed, and I was eligible to go for parole there. And I had gotten a commutation that lowered my sentence from 33 to 25. So a little background on me. I went in at the age of 18, came from Puerto Rico, committed my offense in Waterbury, went in, I didn't speak no English. Those individuals that encouraged me to change my perspective was individuals that are still incarcerated with a life sentence. Those individuals, I had gave up hope when I got 33 years because for me, it was a lifetime that I was going to spend behind prison walls. And to me, the DOC does not, it's not the Department of Corrections. The Department of Corrections is those individuals with lived experience that are helping those individuals that are serving time within prison. So for me, there's Andre Sinicola that could benefit from the raise the age bill, Antonio Inglis and Jermaine Young, just to name a few that are still incarcerated. The Jermaine Young is one of the founder mentors of the True Unit that helped me guide me through the last years of my sentence. So for me, I'll deeply in support of this bill just because those individuals that are incarcerated for more than 20 years, 25 years, age out of time. They are now helping those individuals that are incarcerated. There will be a great asset for the community, like James Cheddar is with the Full Citizens Coalition, Ray Boyd with Next Level Empowerment. Those individuals live with more time within prison than out here. And now we're a benefit for our community out here. So I'm in full support of this bill, and I'll continue to speak on this bill.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? I just want to remind everybody that we are not debating the bill. What we're doing is just getting the information now. So let's try and pare it a little bit down because we do have two others in there, but the passion is there, the understanding is there, and we look forward to the discussion that we have to have about the bill in the subcommittee. So any more questions? Any more comments?
If I can just say that, this is something that has been greatly looked into, especially when we heard of the decisions like Miller versus Alabama. And when it comes to juveniles, our legal system has still not caught up with what science tells us. And that's something that I really believe that we really need to look into because our sentences laws, they fail to account for youth development. Disparities in arrests we see still on a daily basis that we're slow to correct. We've done some great we've done some great work to try and change that. But there are still a lot of loopholes. And I think with limited access and rehabilitation, education, and reentry programs is an example of that. So I ask for folk to really start thinking about this now. So when it comes up for conversation, we can have those constructive conversations and questions so that it can be answered. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next.
Next, we have two presentations coming forward to you, and this will be done in with multiple people as well. But I'm going to give the floor to Amy, one of the co-chairs of the education work group, as well as I'm not sure if Rep Khan is here, but that is also her co-chair. So you both have the floor.
Great. Thanks so much. Thank you, chairs. This is Amy Vatner, co-chair of education. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So Erica, I'm not sure which recommendation I should discuss.
First recommendation is the transportation recommendation.
Awesome. Okay. So definitely echoing the theme of sort of high concept here. The education work group would like to recommend expanding and continuing a pilot to provide free public transport bus passes to students in grades 9 through 12. We're looking at proposing limited funding for a pilot in 10 school districts, most of them urban. The background is that there was a free bus pass program piloted in Hartford and New Haven in 2024-2025 to great success. Additionally, last year, Senate Bill 1243 proposed offering free bus transport for all high school students as well as veterans. Right now, Education Work Group is looking at proposing something smaller than this Senate bill in the pilot expansion to the 10 districts. This is based on feedback that we've received from the Department of Transportation and State Department of Education regarding the costs and difficulty of a statewide effort for grades 9 through 12. The hope is that even with this limited pilot, it would in fact reach most of the students needing alternative free transport. Last note on this is that the recommendation hopefully is going to propose that districts require students to apply for this bus pass use and to make this a proactive venture rather than just giving out bus passes.
Thank you. And I do want to acknowledge that Olu, who you've all have heard from in the past and was a major advocate of this in the past, is also here. And I would like to give her the floor as she has taken time from her school day to participate in this meeting. So Olu, I'll give you the floor. You're on mute right now. You just wanted to let you know.
Luckily, school has already ended, so
Okay,
I'm not
good.
missing anything to be here. But I just wanted to attest to the impact of this program in my school district specifically. So as Amy said briefly, as part of House Bill 5523, which is a pilot program that allocated $175,000 in ARPA funding to Hartford Public Schools, a free bus pass pilot program was enacted at my school and multiple schools throughout Hartford Public Schools. And so how this program looked like at my school was my principal, in partnership with the district, was able to purchase enough bus passes to support the transportation needs of 500 plus Hartford Public School students. And upon purchasing these bus passes, they'd be distributed out monthly to students who were deemed as eligible or in need. So for students who were within the 2-mile radius of the school who weren't eligible for district funded busing, so a yellow school bus, and were expected to either walk to school or find their own means of private transportation, they were deemed as automatically eligible for this program. And for other students who were interested, they would either have to talk to an adult specifically about that, or to our principal, and then they would be put on a list. And so at the beginning of each month, they'd be given a 30-day CT transit pass from their advisor, and they would have to complete a survey as well. And so we were able to collect from the 2024 to 2025 school year, we were able to collect data on how students use these bus passes, the routes used by students. We have survey responses from students on the frequency with which they use their bus pass, how they use their bus pass, what transportation looks like for their family. And it's absolutely clear for everyone in our school community that programs that address transportation gaps for students are a need. We see that when students don't have access to public transit, free public transit, they're less likely to come to school. A lot of them will have to will have to reserve their transportation funds just to get to school. And so they'll drop a lot of the sports and extracurriculars that they're taking place in after school. And so beyond just attendance, we see that it's a very important part of young people's ability to engage outside of the school day. And I think it's so important, especially in conversations around, ensuring that young people are connected to these positive communities, that they have a means of getting there. So that's what I'll say. I'll welcome any questions to my own experiences within the program, but I'm so happy that there is effort to ensure that all young people have access to transportation and thus their education.
Olu, can I ask a question? In your data that you collected, did you collect attendance in the beginning before the bus passes and attendance after the bus passes were given out?
So we had help from someone within Hartford Public Schools, Jacob Cornish, who works for Hartford Public Schools. I think the data on attendance is limited just because there are so many factors that, like post-COVID, I know there's so many other factors that went into student attendance within Hartford Public Schools. So as of now, I believe we do not have data on attendance specifically, but that is something that I can definitely follow up on.
Okay, I think that would be good for the discussion because we want to point to that. Representative Nuccio, I thought I saw her hand. Did I see her hand?
Yes, her hand is up.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I have a lot of interest in this program because it is something that we did do in the budget. And my only real concern about this is just the double transportation costs, right? Because if we don't look at the legislation that requires, for instance, every school district to have a bus for every seat for every child who has it, we're paying massive transportation costs in the Board of Ed budgets. And then we're going to be also funding public transportation costs for the cities. So my concern is that, we really have to find a way to partner this. The public transportation definitely gives these kids a whole lot more flexibility, as we just heard, right? So that's always good, but I think we have to find a way to partner it with a way for those schools to then reduce the actual transportation costs in their Board of Ed budgets. And that would have to be done legislatively because it's legislative that requires them to have a seat for every kid. So if we can find a way to partner that, I absolutely would be in favor of this. I think it's a more economic solution, and I think it would be more helpful from a Board of Ed budget perspective. But I just want to make sure we're trying to link these things and not doing something on top of everything else.
Absolutely. We don't like to duplicate.
I'm all about that. You know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I think this is as my colleague pointed out, I think this is really a good idea because we do have so many kids that unfortunately in some towns, they've closed out schools in areas where they didn't look and notice that most of those kids all had to take some sort of transportation now. And so now the attendance rates and some of the schools where they are being filled by people from cross town are dropping. So we've got to be honest about it and try and figure out how do we do this better. And pretty much we have to tell the districts, don't close the schools until we figure out how we're going to have the transportation. So I think that's really critical. Rep. Nolan.
How you doing? Yeah, I just wanted to share a couple of things that I actually just talked to kids on this yesterday in our school district. And some of the comments I just was so glad to hear. But a lot of kids did talk about it improving school attendance and academic success. As we know, our bus system in the public schools pick up kids as early as 5:45 in the morning.
Mhm.
And that is a challenge for a lot of families, especially those whose parents who leave early and they have to be the kids are the ones putting the other kids in the family on the bus at a later time, which is increasing their tardiness or their absence from school. It also reduces a lot of inequities uh, based on income and zip codes. That is a huge thing. That some kids, I was just so shocked by kids who said that, Representative Nolan, there's such an unequal balance for us, especially when we have to get up earlier than those that can afford to have someone drop them off at a certain time in school. Um, so it does support. Um, it will support the family budget where they don't have to worry about because there's kids that are now taking Uber to school because they can't get the bus early enough because of the other kids that are in the family. Um, and not to mention how it can help with our after school programs. A lot of kids don't go to after school programs because they don't have the transportation to get home. Well,
Mhm.
this is a great addition to that. And I just think that it's necessary for us to look into um, whether we talk to the schools about trying to change something about the early busing so that kids can catch the bus later.
Mhm.
Um, we it's not like the state of Connecticut doesn't have the money. We just have to shift the money to make sure that we cover some of the more important things, which is education and our kids. We practice giving adults and doing things for adults all the time. And we need to show up when it comes to our children. Thank you, Rep.
Thank
Walker.
you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Senator Summers? Senator Summers?
Yes, sorry, I can't be on camera. My system is not working. But I've been listening diligently to what everyone has to say. I would agree with Representative Nuccio on this, that I am all for this if we can figure out a way to lower the bus costs for schools. I just wanted to share that I spent my career overseas, and in Europe, everybody takes public transportation to get to school. They do not take school buses. And it works so much better with the flexibility. Kids can stay after school, they can go to the local library, and they just have a lot more freedom. And, the parents do also. So I'm a big advocate of this. I just wanted everyone to know that.
Thank you. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Well, thank you everybody for this. And again, we're just starting to get everybody their appetites wet on some of the issues. And we have one final one.
One final one, if you can go to the next slide. And I believe this is in partnership, Amy Ventnor, I'll give you the floor for this, introducing this as well. Sorry.
Great. Yeah, no, thanks so much. And, definitely we're excited to talk about both of these areas. We know that this is preliminary and, definitely just sort of introducing these concepts that we're working on. But Education Work Group is very excited about both of these potential initiatives. So next, looking at truancy. We are looking at recommending removing truancy from state statutes. Truancy is defined as 4 unexcused school absences in 1 month or 10 in a year. The background on this is that there have been efforts to decriminalize truancy and divert away from juvenile court. But there are still some statutes on the books, most of them very infrequently used, that contain truancy penalties. Additionally, truancy is a loaded term with a profoundly negative connotation. From an operational perspective, tracking absenteeism, and specifically chronic absenteeism, which is defined as missing 10% of school days, is a more straightforward measure and a better metric for schools and parents. So, the Education Work Group would like to work with the Diversion Work Group, with the State Department of Education, and with the Association of School Superintendents, CAPS, in exploring removing truancy from our state statutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. We've asked Charles and John from SDE to if they'd like to add any comments or anything to this information.
Thank you, Rep. Walker, and thank you, Amy. I think you covered it wonderfully on both of the two high-level proposals. SDE certainly supports students accessing school in all attempts, certainly for the transportation. And then, all of the components of truancy, there's a lot of kind of implementation challenges associated with the law as it exists and the tracking, but there's also the conceptual, as Amy mentioned, at the high level, all of the undertones with the language around truancy and its punitive approaches. We want students to be in school, and kind of arrangement and design of legislation that supports that is something certainly that CSDE is looking to advance alongside our partners in the Ed Work Group. So thank you.
Thank you, John. When was the last truancy bill done? 2016? Was that 2016?
Yeah, I think so. We passed in the decriminalization of status offenses. It was a two-phase process. So 2016 was the first round, and then I think we did a second round. It was 2017. Remember, we have we have runaways, truancy, defiance of school rules, out of problems, arguing family fights at home and stuff like that. So there's about 5 or 7 status offenses, and so we decriminalized those in a two-phase process.
So when you send out the packets for the truancy, you'll send the statute with it?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so that we have all of the documentation. Okay, all right. Are there any other questions or comments on that one? That one's kind of straightforward. It's going to take some time to actually do some reviewing and everything. If we did it back in 2016, okay, all right. Just looking at the time frame. Any other comments or questions?
I think we do have some questions, but also I just wanted to clarify. So, there has been this sort of larger decriminalization effort, and that is, I think, well supported by this committee. But we've seen that truancy, it's still on the books in some other statutes, and I think there may even have been some more recent efforts, and it's crept into some statutes even more recently. So I think this is going to sort of take and require us to look at everything that's on the books if we're getting behind this. And just want to remind everyone also, Connecticut is kind of looked at as being in the vanguard in this area and sort of at the forefront of this movement. I know it may seem silly to some that this is just a word, it's semantics, but I think there is something profound behind this. And if we can make a little bit of a difference without recreating the wheel, it may be worth doing. I think Senator Summers and Nuccio may have comments.
I'm not sure if their hand is left up from the last time. Representative Nuccio?
Sorry, it was up from the last time.
That's okay. Thank you. Senator Summers, was that left up from the last time?
No, I just had a question. I've dealt with truancy issues significantly in my district, and if SDE is willing to have this conversation, right now I have certain towns that have very high truancy rates, and they are scrutinized by SDE because of that, even though that they have, done everything they possibly can to try to get the students back in school. So if the word truancy is not going to be used, will the school districts still be? Is the idea that the school districts will still be sort of held accountable for truancy students? How's that going to work?
I just want to point out that right now we're not making any platform statements right now. There's nothing that says that there is going to be truancy or there isn't going to be truancy, but we're just talking about in the meeting. That would be the time where we talk about how do we address it.
Okay, I'm just throwing that out there for thought for people to think about. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I just sort of want to remind everybody, we have been doing all of these things for a while. And some of these things, some of the bills and some of the issues have been around for a while. And when we do reform and policy reform, we have to accept that we have had things in place that didn't necessarily work. So we're trying to come up with things that are more update, that are addressing the needs of the kids in many areas and how we get things to move and change. So I hope we can come up, if it's another word or something, but we start to try and deal with it in 2025 and 2026 as opposed to in 2000 or 2010. We've got to change a lot of the ways because the population of kids that we're dealing with are different. At that time, we had a lot more, and we were able to address some of the immediate needs. Now we're dealing with kids that had a lot more trauma and a lot more things that they have to balance. And so it's important that we look at that. Are there any other comments or questions? Charles, are you going to
I
say
did have a
something or are you just?
question.
Yes. Who's that?
Devon,
Devon. Okay. Yes, Devon.
I couldn't put I was looking for my hand, but yeah, I had a question. So I don't know if you guys said it in the beginning, but what are the consequences now, like for truancy? Because I was a victim of truancy when I was 10 years old, and I went to juvenile detention for truancy. What is the consequences now when it happens?
I believe there are a variety of different things. Amy, am I correct? In order for us to do that, we'd have to get into a lot more detail, and I would hope that we would do that in the discussion. And we talk about what truancy is, what the definition is, and then hopefully we'll look at some definitions that are being used in other states. I mean, as I think somebody said, what we also forget is that everybody watches what Connecticut does. And then we become the I guess the whisperer for these things. And so it's important that we look at what other states are doing and look at what we did and look at how successful were we at that point and how successful are we with the same policy with the kids that we're working with now. So those are the things. But getting into all of the specifics right now, it's not. We're not going to do that today. We're going to just identify it and hope that it will spur interest so that people will join us on those meetings. Now, I did see on the cross agency data sharing that date has to be changed because it's January 19th.
That's correct. So yes, so Brian, okay, I see Brian's giving a thumbs up. That's a state holiday, so we will be changing that. The other thing, and is really, if you want to just, we're down to the end here, but the last slide of the presentation, just to give you a big picture back to where we start in the sense of process and to what Representative Walker was saying about, the next meeting to dive deeper into this. If you can go to the next slide, it's really about the timeline. So the way in which this works is that as was discussed is tomorrow the education work group is actually going to come together to meet to talk about transportation. And we're going to dive deep. We're going to take the feedback that you all provided today, and we're going to do some deeper dives into that, start to compile and collect some of that data. And usually the term I like to use is sort of put together no more than a 5-pager, because anything beyond a 5-pager nobody reads, but a brief sort of fact sheet that has some data that maybe we can look into the two areas of the pilot program. And that's why we decided we wanted to have Olu here, because she was one of those individual students that got to experience that. And so do a little diving on data and response to some of your questions, refine the recommendations language, and we would bring back this set of package for you at January 8th. It will be delivered to you as a draft. Please note, it is draft. We are looking for your feedback, your suggestions. Our hope is then that we would collect. There is a deadline. We would send it to you on the 8th of January. You have until January 13th to send us feedback, and then we will revise the document and review it with JJPOC leadership based off of the feedback that we received from you all, and then do another presentation to you all on the 19th. That is where we can have the in-depth conversations and that you are asking all these different questions. January 19th. Is that too late? Rep Walker, you're shaking your head.
Wait a minute. We're having a meeting on the 19th?
I believe that's our next,
The
when is our meeting? Oh,
20.
sorry, January 22nd, excuse me. January 22nd would be the meeting. Yes, January 22nd. I apologize.
The 19th, we should have all the recommendations sent in and received.
Yeah,
But
correct.
there is no meeting on January.
No meeting on the 19th. No meeting on the
Please,
19th.
please,
Yep.
I can't get another text saying that's Martin Luther King Day. We're supposed to be talking to the community.
No. You'll get the final package around that day. And then the meeting will take place on January 22nd.
Okay. And if you have not joined any of the subcommittees or anything, I will say this now. Please text or email Erica and say which committee that you would like to be on, and we will put you down on that group and make sure that you get the backup materials that will be used in the discussions in the group, because I think that's important that you get them now so that you are prepared for the discussion, so that we can get right down to it. And I love the stories. I think they're absolutely wonderful, but when it gets down to actually talking about the subjects and everything, let's get right into the details of the process and what we're trying to accomplish, and how it's being viewed in different areas and how we should be viewing it. So I ask everybody, no more preaching. We're done. We're going to get right into the actual process of trying to make the changes now. So thank you very much.
You do have two new questions. I think I saw Representative Nuccio raise her hand again. Is that correct, Representative Nuccio?
Is it up? Is it down?
It is up. It is up. And I just wanted to kind of, Tony kind of got me there, but Erica, I'm not on any subcommittee. So if you can just send me the information, I'll go through and, is it typically one we go on, or, if you can just send me the information, I will gladly review it and get back to you on that. I appreciate it.
Perfect. No problem.
Representative Nuccio, if you have extra time, please join as many committees.
Well, listen, nobody ever told me I was supposed to be on a subcommittee. I've just been on JJPOC for over a year now, and nobody said.
Well, we also know that we're carrying a lot of issues, so a lot of things. So we don't tell people they have to do things. We hope that interest drives them. That's more than anything. Okay, is there another hand up?
I do see Senator Summers. I don't know if your hand is up again.
Senator Summers?
Oh, yes, my hand was up. I'm ditto with Nuccio. I didn't know I was supposed to be on a subcommittee, so if you want to send me the information, that would be great.
Absolutely. We will send
Thank
you. In
you.
fact, Paul, if you can send the document that has the list of each of the work groups, plus when the frequency in which they meet and so forth, then we'll send, and then you can let us know which work groups you'd like to join. We always welcome everybody to that table.
Thank you.
So, thank you. All right, I think that we are good to go. Any closing remarks? I do see the Undersecretary Karpowitz is here also. Don't know if you want to take the floor and give any closing remarks, or Representative Walker?
Nope, I defer to the co-chair. Appreciated all the presentations today, especially the one on parole reform.
Thank you. All right, I think we are done, everybody. I wish you all a very happy holidays and look forward to seeing you all in the new year. Thank you, everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holiday.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Oh, real quick, can I get that email with Erica that you guys are gonna send out? Can I just be a part of all the subgroup times and everything?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Good meeting, y'all.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I guess I turned it off by accident. I was trying to put my camera back on. Anyhow, great meeting. Thank you guys. Sorry. that was an abrupt ending. Okay, don't have a problem with that one. Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening. Happy holidays if I don't see anybody. Thank you.
You as well.
Right.